سنته وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. You with me? As we continue Kitaab At-Tawheed, I need a date, everyone. If someone give me the date. As we continue Kitaab At-Tawheed on this day, today is 6th of March already? March the 6th, 2020, 8:11 p.m., 8:12 p.m. We're still in the month of Rajab. It's the 12th night of Rajab. You say the 12th or the 11th? No, tonight, technically it's the 12th. Unless your phone switched over. On the 12th night of Rajab, which technically is Saturday night, the year 1441 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. That's strange. As we continue in this book, in this tremendous treatise of Kitaab At-Tawheed, and for brothers and sisters, as these affairs, like we know, as all of us are now, I think all of us have seen the effects of what man is earning these days and times as a result of what people are being tested with all throughout the world. As I said this in so many khutbahs, everybody's being tested now. I said this so many times, so now you see it. So you see it now. It's all everywhere, all over the globe. It's global. It's on a global scale. For all this is from the Qada and the Qadr, the divine decree, which is the new chapter, which we're going to embark upon explaining, where everyone now needs to tighten up. All of us need to tighten up, making tawbah to Allah, and now exposing ourselves to affairs that removes the anger of Allah. And the only affairs that remove the anger of Allah is His obedience. And at the head of all those affairs that removes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger and His wrath is learning the affairs of Tawheed. And sitting in the classes of knowledge, especially these classes. For these classes remove His wrath and His anger upon the creation, and it changes it into His pleasure. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that the creation sits in circles of knowledge learning the Tawheed and the monotheism of Allah, which is the greatest knowledge in all cases. There's no knowledge better than the knowledge that we're studying now. It's the head and greatest of all ilm. And from these affairs of which we're doing now will be a reason of removing the punishment of Allah and switching it until one is able to attain His bounties and His blessings that He will open up if we obey Him. And if we open up its door, and from those ways, like we said, we attain His pleasures, what we're doing now, in this class right now. For Shaitan does everything he can to utilize, either through his awliya, through his troops or his soldiers, to take Ahl Sunnah, to have them distracted in so many ways. It happens to me daily, and people see it right in front of me, how many people insane come to me on a daily basis, or have some type of problems. And you can see how Shaitan utilizes his people or soldiers to divert and take you away from what's correct. For these affairs, like we said, the Kitaab At-Tawheed is from the greatest of all matters, and like we said, we are doing things, or we're doing an act that is very, very pleasing to Allah, which is to study His monotheism, and like we said, ponder on it, and learn on it, and act upon it. As we completed the chapter, which is those matters connected with the greatest affairs of worship that we've been explaining for the past month. Number one, we spoke about love, right? We spoke about mahabbah. After we concluded mahabbah, we moved to the next chapter, which is khawf, fear. Then we completed that. Then we moved to the next affair, or the next type of worship, which is tawakkul, reliance on Allah. Then we completed that. Then after that, we talked about the matters connected with what, everyone? connected with one, not relying or feeling secure from the punishment of Allah. And also, one, losing hope from the mercy of Allah. So all those matters are connected with the foundation. They're connected with the correct belief, which will be a means of one being rectified in this world in preparation for the hereafter. From those affairs, which are important, which we're going to speak about in a minute, inshallah, is this next chapter, which the great Imam al-Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah that he put in the chapter, which is Bab min al-Iman billah as-sabr ala aqdarillahi subhanahu jalla fil ula. The chapter, like from faith in Allah, is patient upon what? Upon divine decree or destiny of Allah. They translate as decree. The decree of Allah, or the divine decree of Allah. Keep in mind, brothers and sisters, how many times have we said these affairs are the easiest to understand, but what at the same time they're what? They're the hardest to work. They're the hardest to apply. These affairs of Tawheed are the easiest to understand, and they're the hardest to apply. So we know this chapter, that the word, okay, that the chapter that says Bab min al-Iman billah. The chapter that from faith in Allah. As we know, the Arkan al-Iman as-Sitta, the 6 articles of faith. I'm sure that everyone is familiar with, right? In which the great Jibreel, the Prophet, asked the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam those questions. And the narration that we know as what everyone, Hadith Jibreel, where we know Angel Jibreel, who was entrusted with the revelation, came to the Messenger of Allah in the form of a man. And we said he used to come in the shape of the great Sahabi. His name was Dihya al-Kalbi. And he was very handsome. Radiyallahu anhu. So Angel Jibreel came in the form of what resembled the great Sahabi Dihya al-Kalbi. And he came upon the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, asking him those questions. And the Messenger of Allah would answer them, and Jibreel would confirm them, until they were amazed that every time the Messenger of Allah would answer, he would say, "You spoke the truth." Amazing to say, why would the Angel Jibreel why was this man, they didn't know he was Angel Jibreel. Why did this man say, "You have spoken the truth," after the Messenger of Allah answered the question? But at any rate, those questions that he asked the Messenger of Allah, and the Messenger of Allah answered, that Jibreel had asked the question, what is Iman? Which is what, everyone? What is Iman? To believe in Allah, and that what? And the angels, and what? The books, and what? The prophets and messengers, and the day of resurrection. What's the last one? Tu'mina billah, tu'mina bil qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi. That you believe in the divine decree and destiny of Allah, the good of it and the what? The evil of it. So from these affairs is exactly what this chapter is connected with. This is the correlation of what? Of the Hadith Jibreel. Here in this chapter. Which is from faith in Allah. Is that one is patient with the divine decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know, brothers and sisters, the word as-sabr, linguistically means al-habs, as we know. Habs. What's habs? To keep yourself in control. To hold it back. Habs. It means to hold something back. Keep it immobilized. Even if you'll find, in order to put it in perspective, if you'll notice in the past, when a person was in prison, they used to say, "Huwa fil habs." If he was in prison or if he was in jail, they didn't used to call it sijin. They used to call it habs. Why used to call it habs? Because jail, what does it do, everyone? It keeps you immobilized from doing things. You're in one spot. That's it. You're trapped. You understand? That's why he said, Kana Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mahbusan. That he was mahbus. He was in habs, Shaykh al-Islam. He said, Qada akthara hayatihi fil habs. And he spent the majority of his time in da'wah and habs. What does that mean? He was in jail. He was in jail. Habs. That was the time of old. They used the word habs. And these days at times they say sijin. He's masjun or huwa fi sijin. But back in the times of old they used to call habs. So now you can correlate between what? Between the word linguistically of how to use it for imprisonment to how to use it for patience. Habs. So sabr linguistically means habs. Means to keep yourself what? Compelled. To keep it what? Controlled. To hold it back, even though it wants to what? Do in contrast to how it feels. You understand, everyone? Even from the times of the Salaf, they used to use the word, for example, as far as sabr. I'm not talking about habs anymore. Sabr. You will probably learn if you look in the history, they used to say, Qutila sabran. Qutila sabran. He was killed out of sabr. What does that mean? The person would say patience. He was patiently killed. What does that mean? No, it means that he was killed either by being captured or imprisonment. He was in prison or he was captured. That's the meaning of he was killed sabran, out of sabr, meaning he was killed either in prison or in a state of captivity. He was a captive. Is it clear what I'm saying? Ahmed, stay with me, brother. He's memorizing. We have to have patience for all of our children. I'm sure everyone knows that children, they take turns. This one is energetic one day, then they switch, then that one will go to sleep. Then that one will be energetic, then that one will go to sleep. They all take turns. That's how they are. That's how kids, that's what they do. Don't worry. Patience. Focus, everyone. Focus. طيب. So in istilah, as far as the Kitaab and Sunnah, the meaning of sabr. So look back to the title. What's the title of the chapter? The title of the chapter is From Faith in Allah. And faith in Allah. So what's from faith in Allah? Being patient upon the divine decree of Allah. The good of it and what? The evil of it. So if you truly believe in Allah, then you truly have to believe what? In His divine decree. The good of it and the evil of it. Like we said, we know so many people who have read this lesson, they've heard it over and over again, but when it comes to the application of it, hard to apply. Very, very hard to apply. Things happen in our life, our life start going left, and a lot of things happen in our life that we detest. Then the real reality comes out of who we are and the level of faith that we have. It really comes out, especially during those times. So that's the meaning of the word sabr. Belief in Allah is having sabr. Sabr meaning what, everyone? Habs an-nafs, keeping yourself under control. Ala ashya wa an ashya. Meaning controlling yourself and keeping your composure, your control of performing certain affairs and abstaining from certain affairs. Is it clear what I'm saying? From being patient upon what? Upon performing and carrying out certain matters and duties and abstaining from certain what? Affairs and things. Fine. We know that sabr, as everyone knows, is of three types. I'm sure everyone knows already. I don't have to go too much in detail on this, inshallah. But patience is of three types. The first type is patience, steadfastness upon what, everyone? Performing what? Performing and carry out the commands of Allah. Being patient upon obedience of Allah. Let's just say, for better words. Patience with obedience of Allah. Because obedience of Allah needs patience. It does. Especially during the wintertime. How many of us, we look up, we pray, and then next thing you know, especially also during the wintertime, look up, you're out, it's time to go. Whoa, time to pray again. So you have to stop and pray again. The shaitan will tell you, no, wait till you get home, you'll get it in. Shaitan will, then you have to be patient upon the weather. Sometimes the climate is not comfortable. You still have to do what you have to do sometimes. All of that, which is considered from what we're speaking about now. Then you have to stop to make wudu. And that's what we're going to talk about. How the patience of carrying out the obedience of Allah is the hardest of affairs, because it requires that you have to what? Get up to do it. So you have to exert some type of what? Some type of energy. And you have to exhaust some type of energy to get up off your behind and do it. Where you want to relax. So you get up, you do it, and after you get up and do it, it requires some type of exertion. So not that you only get up and push yourself to do it, then at the same time, it has in it of some type of what? Of effort that you have to put forth. Where it needs patience. Because the body, by its natural inclination, it wants to relax. It wants to be laid back. Seeking relaxation, comfort, all the time. And that's what you'll find, in which Imam Ahmed said that sabr in the Quran is mentioned in about 90 places. He says you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran sabr in 90 places in the Quran, to let you know how important it is. How important it is. So sabr upon obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in 90 places in the Quran. Especially in regards to what you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in His book about His obedience. How it needs patience. Needs patience. It requires patience. It does. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in His book, and there's just one ayah will suffice with that, because there's a lot of ayahs. For the first category, meaning being patient upon His obedience, the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah At-Taha, ayah number 132, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Command your family to pray. And command them to be patient upon that. To be patient upon that. There's a lot of ayahs about this affair of what? Obedience to Allah. It's a lot. And it requires a lot of what? Affairs that we deal with on a daily day. Getting up for Fajr. How much do we want to lay in the bed and continue to sleep? But however, it requires what, everyone? Patience to get yourself to get up. Then get yourself to go to the bathroom. Then get yourself to make wudu. And then get yourself to actually what? Perform the act of prayer. All this requires what? Sabr. Requires patience. In which you'll be greatly rewarded on the day of resurrection for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows in His infinite knowledge how these affairs are a test for us. They are. And to do it 5 times a day. To do it 5 times a day in a manner how Allah wants it. As I talked about earlier to an individual, that the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make our lives revolve around the religion, not the opposite. We don't make the religion revolve around our lives to get the religion to fit in with our lives. No, we try to make our lives fit in with the religion. That's the reason why we don't have 2 Jumu'ahs. For those affairs, brothers and sisters, so we said in regards to the first type of obedience of Allah Ta'ala, first type of sabr, the first type of patience is what? Patience upon the obedience of Allah, as we know. Then you have the second category of patience, also. As-sabru an ma'asiyatillah. Patience upon, patience from From abstaining from what, everyone? Abstination from what? The disobedience of Allah. That also requires patience. It does. It requires patience. Patience, which is abstaining or refraining from doing an act that's considered what? Disobedience. And it does require what? It does require patience. It requires sabr. Because we know that the human being or the nufus, oneself, wants to fulfill his desires. He wants to chase after his desires. And he wants to fulfill his desires. A person refrains himself from lying, or refrains himself from cheating and trying to play word games or mind games on people, even though he's capable of doing it and getting away with certain affairs or certain things. And he knows he's capable. But he stays away from doing it because he knows these matters are displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants to take a picture and put it all around on social media. To the end of the different types of disobedience that is out there. But he does it because he knows that these affairs are displeasing to Allah, even though he's capable. So those affairs also requires what, everyone? Requires patience. The ayah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of course mentions this is in his book, as we know. Allah ta'ala says in Surah Yusuf, where we know when the great Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, that he mentioned when he was in prison. Until the woman, who was the woman of the Aziz, of the king, wanted to tempt him. And she did tempt him to what? Do some type of disobedience with him. Where she wanted to be intimate with him. And he refrained from doing that until the point where Prophet Yusuf said, رَبِّ السِّجْنِ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْهِ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. He said that the fact of me sitting in prison is more beloved to me than what you're calling me to. But we know she falsely accused Prophet Yusuf to the point where he necessitated that he had to have patience, because the fact that he didn't want to answer her call, he was what? In prison. As a result of it. As he didn't want to answer her what? Her invitation to commit the act of fornication with her. So he said the fact that I'm in jail, in prison, is more beloved to me than what you called me to. However, he ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that was from the tawfiq, that was from the success of Allah, that Allah inspired him to what? To have that type of patience and being steadfast upon what? Refraining from doing something that is displeasing to Allah. Even though we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his book that the thought of desire did come to Yusuf's mind. It did. It did. But the taqwa of Allah, as we know that it what? It took over, it superseded until the point where he said this statement. But the temptation was there. Understand? It says clearly in the ayah, فَصَبَى إِلَيْهَا وَتَصْبُ إِلَيْهِ. She had the desire and the thought came in. The thought. But he didn't. Of course we know he didn't. But the thought had came to his mind. But then there was, we know, Prophet Yusuf. He did not answer the call until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like we said, removed the what? The evil. Until he protected his prophet and messenger. And said to this point that the fact that I'm in jail is more beloved to me than what? Than what you call me to. And what you call me to. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنْ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنْ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. It says it clearly in the ayah. Now listen to this. O Allah, if you had not repelled and took away from me their plot and put that inspiration of fear in my heart, I would desire for them. أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنْ. I will have the desire for them. And I will be from those who are ignorant. So it's from the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he what? That Allah ta'ala had protected his prophet and messenger from falling into any of these hideous acts, in contrast to what the Christians say in the Bible of the prophets falling into major sins of what they say in their book. But at any rate, from that is the second type of what they call patience. The third is what we're talking about, which is in the chapter, which is what, everyone? This is what we're speaking about, which is patience with what? The patience of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed is the third category. It's the third category. And that's in a lot of different ayats. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in his book, فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. Have patience with the ruling of your Lord, meaning what he's decreed. A person, of course, and a lot of people in this class will probably say, well, that's easy. That's easy. Is it truly? Is it truly easy? For this type of chapter is a remedy for why things happen in our lives. That nothing happens in our lives except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it to happen. A person and a child in this room might ask, why did my father abandon me? What did I do? This is your answer right here, the third category. Bang. That's it. Is it clear or is it not clear? That why would my mom do drugs and then abandon me on the street? And why would my mother mistreat me and kick me out of my house and put me with different people in my family until I got passed around to different households and people didn't really care about me? What's your answer? Answer's third category right here. Huh? Why is it that my mother died when I was 5 or 8 or 10 years old? My mother died, or she overdosed on drugs. Or my father, I never knew who my father was. He abandoned me. Never cared about me. What was I do? What did I do to deserve that type of treatment? Third category. You understand, everyone? Like, what was my sin? What did I do? Just hold on a second. So many things. Oh, another situation. Why did my relationship work out with this woman that I was married to? And I did everything I was supposed to right by. I did everything right by her, and she still did me dirty. SubhanAllah. What did I do to deserve that? Third category. Same thing with women. I did right by that man. I did everything right by him. I decorated myself for him. I even worked for him. I came up and paid the bills for him and all this and all. And I did all this and he did me dirty. What's the answer? Third category. Allah wanted that to happen for a reason. SubhanAllah, he burnt me, gave me an STD. He treated me bad to the end of it. I told you these affairs are the easiest to understand. They're the what, everyone? They're the hardest to apply. Oh, I know Kitaab At-Tawheed. That's easy. Okay. Let's see how you are when fitna hits. Let's see how you are. Let's see how your religion will be. Will it remain intact when the winds of fitna come? Because it's going to come. Let's see how you are after the fitna abates and it leaves. Let's see if your religion is still intact. Or did it get better or stronger? Or did it what? Or did it regress and get weaker? That's why we say these affairs are the easiest to understand. They're the what, everyone? They're the hardest to apply. They're the hardest to apply. Same thing with all of us. In regards, subhanAllah, everything I did, this is also regards to what you might be tested with if you enter affairs or arenas of the dawah. It's even this applies. Dang, subhanAllah, my Salafi brothers treated me bad and I did everything right by them. Every time I go to the Salafi masters, they treat me bad. Why is it that they treat me so bad and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to? What's the answer, everyone? Third category. Allah wanted it to happen for a reason. It's hard to swallow. Do everything right. Make sure you do it for Allah. Because brothers and sisters, in this life, make sure everything you do, you're doing it for Allah. Because if the end, when things go left, when those people that you did right by leave you, you don't feel bad about it. You understand? You can still sleep at night. You could go to sleep and say, at the end of the day, I did it for Allah. And what they did of evil, if Allah wants it for them, it'll come back full circle on them, even though we don't believe in karma, because we know that's shirk. But we know that from the name of what we know in the religion is a jazat min jinsil amal, that the repayment is due to the type of action you did. So people wonder why things are going left in their lives. You have to always reflect on what you did in the past. That maybe, like I said, maybe it might be the reason of something you did to someone. And if Allah sees fit, Allah will deal with them. It's not for you to take retribution from anyone. Let Allah handle those affairs. It's not for you to take retribution. Retribution is for Allah ta'ala if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees fit that they deserve certain affairs. It will come. But a patience, it still requires what everyone? Patience. So those affairs of the third category is easy to understand, like we said, is to be patient upon what Allah has decreed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows these affairs to happen for a reason. And for, like we said, these affairs, as far as what was mentioned in the categories of the three, which is to be patient upon the obedience of Allah and the patient from the disobedience of Allah, and the third, those three categories, even though we say that the head of all of them, like we, whoa, was a transformer from a building. That's how it sounds when it explodes? Oh, that was a transformer. It sounded like a transformer that blew out. That too, right? طيب. So that happened by the qadr of Allah, right? So that's applied. It's the third category, right? طيب. So we just. I just moved my leg for a certain way. That must be new electrolyte powder. I did work out a lot today. But anyway, so for what we say, what's wrong? Everything all right? So in this regard, we say that the third category, jerk when that thing happened, huh? No. I worked out a lot today and didn't drink enough electrolyte powder after I was finished, or enough salt. No. So, Core, don't make me laugh right now. That thing must have really scared me or something. Because I jolted when it happened. Huh? What my back hurts? It's black. It's crazy how that happened and this happened too at the same time. Happened by the qadr of Allah, huh? Hold on for a second, I'll be right back. Yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. Sorry about that. Thought you guys ready. So these three categories, as we said, the three categories of what we're mentioning, even though the highest of all of them is obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we mentioned these categories and how they're arranged, of course. In certain cases, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could test one where one of these categories could be more difficult than the other, dependent on the person. As obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could be facilitated for an individual, but being patient from disobeying him could be the test for him. That could be difficult. So that's the reason why, even though these categories are arranging the way they are, however, at the same time, what you don't want? Focus. I need you to focus. Focus. So how they are, how they arrange, depending on the person and their state, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make it, depending on the individual, where one of the categories could be difficult than the other. Certain people, it's easy for them to pray, but maybe in certain regards, the disobedience might be their test. Is it clear what I'm saying? The disobedience could be their test. Or certain people can abstain from certain disobedience, but carrying out their prayers on time could be their test. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? So certain affairs, depending on the condition of the person religiously, one of the categories could be more difficult than the other, depending on the person. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So in this regard, we said, even though, like how we mentioned it, that obedience of Allah is the highest. The obedience of Allah, because it contains what, everyone? It contains what they call ilzam. Ilzam meaning knowing that this affair is mandatory. So you notice the obligation that I have to fulfill. And we also have to do an act. You have to stand up and do it. Do the action. Is it clear what I'm saying, Sukur? So ilzam meaning is something that's binding upon you to do. And you have to do it. So it's ilzam. But it's been binding upon you to what? To do it. Then not only having the belief that it's an obligation, but you also have to what? Act upon it. And carry it out. Right, everyone? For that reason, you bind upon yourself to pray, then you stand to what? To do it. Same thing with fasting. We know that fasting has in it a little bit of difficulty. So you wake up in the morning to start your fast. We know it's in it in your mind. You have the belief that this is an obligation, right, everyone? That I have to do it. So now you make yourself get up in the morning, take your suhoor, and then you start to what? Observe that what? That mandatory affair. And you know what's going to happen of a little bit of discomfort. Of a little bit of what? Of discomfort. But like we said, take in consideration that certain categories, depending on the religious state or situation of the person, that depending on that person, one category could be more difficult than the other, depending on each individual and depending on their religious level or their level of taqwa of Allah, or depending on the person. For verily, as we know, certain affairs are easy. All of us are different. Where certain matters are easy upon us, where others it's hard upon them, on certain areas and in certain affairs. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have facilitated that you're a free-hearted person. It's easy upon you to give sadaqah. Right? Whereas another person, certain people are what? They're penny pincher, they're tight-fisted. So that's their fitna. You understand, everyone? They might pray on time, but when it's certain affairs, as far as their provisions, they're what? Tight-fisted. It's a fitna. It's their test. You understand, everyone? So everyone is different according to what? According to the situation of where certain affairs are facilitated for them and certain affairs where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what? Tested them. Is it clear now, everyone? G. In regards to the qadr of Allah, the qadr of Allah, as we know, everyone, focus. See, lessons needs patience too. Patience upon not going to sleep for some of you. At any rate, for now, in regards to the qadr of Allah, you have to believe and know that the destiny of Allah is in regards to al-maqdur, in regards to two affairs, what we're going to mention inshallah. When you hear the word qadr, which means divine decree, qadr of Allah, divine destiny or divine decree, it can be used for the maqdur, for the actual thing that happened, for the thing itself that happened. I'm going to explain it, don't worry. I want everybody to be patient with me. Just listen. For the actual thing that took place, and certain of these affairs could be what? Good, and some of them could be what? Evil. For example, the actual thing that happened, such as we heard that children were killed. Innocent children, innocent bystanders were killed. That thing that happened is called the maqdur. The maqdur is the thing that happened. It's obligatory upon you to what? To hate the thing that happened. For example, if it's by, of course, disobedience, where someone actually killed innocent bystanders. If it was initiated or the harm was initiated by a person. For example, someone came in and slaughtered innocent bystanders and killed little babies. When you see that, automatically your natural reaction is to what? It's to hate it. Detest it. Rather, it's obligatory for you to detest it. It's obligatory upon you to what? Hate it. It was initiated by someone that wanted to what? That wanted to do some harm to innocent people and innocent bystanders. It's obligatory upon you to what? To hate that thing that happened, especially if it happened by or at the hands of someone. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? However, as in regards to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed to happen, in regards to Allah, then one, it's obligatory for you to be content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed to happen. In regards to Allah. I'll say it again. Don't worry, I know it's going to make it clear. The thing that happened, if it's disobedience of Allah, then we hate it. Murder, shirk, polytheism, bid'ah, fornication, to the end of it. We detest those affairs. Those are things that actually what? Happen. Right or wrong? Didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow these affairs to happen or not? Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 50,000 years before He created the heavens and the earth, He had it written that that thing was going to transpire. That thing was going to happen. In that particular time, and it was going to happen at the hands of that individual. A person, now this is where the satanic thoughts come in. Because this is where the non-Muslims don't have any guidance. Where you'll find that they come in and say, why is it that God allowed those innocent bystanders to be slaughtered? There isn't any God. You see the satanic thoughts? There's no God. Why God allow those kids to die in that blast? And that person shot all those innocent women and children. If there's a God, God wouldn't allow nothing like that to happen. There ain't no God. What kind of God is that? Why God will allow that to happen? You understand, everyone? Jayid. That's why you're learning this right now. This is the importance of Aqidah and Tawheed right here. So now when the satanic process comes by your way, you know the answer. So now when you hear this type of blowing of the shaitan in your head, now I'm going to teach you the answer. Say it again. Third category, no doubt. But what is it's the third category. But there's also some details I want to add to that. Is everybody with me now? What? A person will ask, Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow, for example, innocent bystanders, good people always die early, the bad people always got to live long, they seem like they get longevity, righteous people seem like they always get the short end of the stick, they never get it, they never get a fair handshake. Why does it always seem that people, innocent children have to die, innocent bystanders and women have to die and be murdered, and there's bloodshed in the earth? All these affairs are connected to what we're discussing now. Is it clear or is it not clear so far, everyone? Why is it that I was a little baby and my mother was on crack and I was in a crack house with my mother when she was doing crack, and she was passed me around to different homes, and things happened in my life like this? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do for my parents to take me and slam me against the wall or throw me somewhere, and I was just a little kid? What did I do? All this applies to what I'm about to talk about right now. What did I do? I was a child. I couldn't defend myself. What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve, and I'm just driving down the street minding my business, and bang, out of nowhere, somebody hit my car? What did I do? I was just sitting here minding my business, bang. What did I do for when I was 6, 7, 8 years old? My mother died of cancer right in front of me. That happened to me. My mother died right in front of me. Right in front of me. I seen her flatline right in front of me. You don't think none of this stuff hurts? You understand, everyone? My sister, same thing, died. They said she was murdered. Father died too. Not only that, my own non-Muslim family kicked me out in the street and all left me. Done. We won't mess with you no more. So my sister died, mother died, father died, all my sisters and brothers abandoned me. Don't speak to me at all. And they all got strong minds like me. So they absolutely, when they say we're done with you, they done with you. What did I do? What did I do to deserve this? Understand, everyone? So what does a person do? Why does Allah why does He decree these affairs to happen? Why? So this is the answer. Number one, in regards to what people say for children, they say, why innocent children have to go through these matters of suffering? Number one, everybody knows this dunya doesn't mean anything. No, everyone knows that this dunya, this world that we live in, is insignificant, and it has no value with Allah. It has no value with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You don't know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow those children to go through what they go through at that moment in time, because we know in the hereafter, Allah ta'ala will bring an individual who's been tested with the most tremendous of tests in this world, and when they are brought on the day of resurrection, listen, when they are brought on the day of resurrection, they'll be put one dip in paradise from all the tragic and traumatic things they've been through in their life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to put them one dip in paradise. One dip. And when we know on the day of resurrection, it says in the hadith, once they get one dip in paradise, they forgot about all the troubles they faced in the dunya. And to the point it will be asked the question, Allah will ask them, did you see any difficulty in your life? You know what the person once he brought out the paradise will say? I didn't see any difficulty in my life. Is it clear? Is it not clear? You don't know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows those people to go through what they go through, because Allah might want to increase their reward more and more in the hereafter. That's why Allah allows these affairs to happen. You don't know the divine decree of Allah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, his vast ilm that he has, tabarak wa ta'ala. How perfect and vast his ilm is. As we know all the athar, the Prophet ﷺ said about how vast the knowledge of Allah, of what we would think, of course, to how, to show the vast knowledge of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ struck an example. He said to what? Take your finger. The affairs that was compared to the hereafter, and also in regards to the knowledge of Allah, is no more than one of us go to the beach, Stick your finger in the water at the beach of the ocean and pull it out. How much comes out of it from your one finger? How much of what even Khidr has said to Musa, when the woodpecker ended at the end of the boat and it took its beak and it stuck it in the ocean. And Khidr said to Musa, my knowledge I've been given, Musa, and the knowledge you've been given is no more than what that woodpecker did when it stuck its beak in the ocean and it took it out. That's to let you know how vast the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And there's no comparison in the worldly affairs. That's just to give us just a what? Just somewhat of a somewhat to let you know how the vast knowledge is, except the knowledge of Allah is greater than that. Greater than the vastness of the example that was set of that woodpecker that stuck its beak in the ocean and brought it out. Except the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater than that. And there's no comparison or similitude that can be what? Struck in this example for it. Is it clear? Is it not clear, everyone? So that's what I'm saying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows things to happen in this dunya, in your life for a reason. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants a tremendous reward for you in the hereafter. And we know the hadith is going to come in a couple of chapters that the great Imam put in Kitaab At-Tawheed, that the Prophet ﷺ clearly said in narration, Inna idham al-jaza ma'a idham al-bala. The great reward is due to a great what? Due to a great trial and test. You have all the examples in the prophets and messengers. Then the prophets and messengers received the greatest of rewards and tests. Prophet ﷺ, how many tests did he receive? To the point that we heard that you will probably want to cry. What the Messenger of Allah ﷺ went through. That some of us wouldn't even, we probably would have became insane from the things that he went through. Alayhi salatu wasalam. We probably would have went insane. How many people, as it says in about Uhud, that was killed from the Sahaba? It was probably over 40 or 80 Sahaba that were murdered, killed in battle. His uncle, Hamzah, was killed in the battle of Uhud. Not only was he killed, he was mutilated. He was mutilated. How many battles and wars the Messenger of Allah had to go through? Prophet ﷺ, they did magic upon him. The Prophet ﷺ, they tried to assassinate him. The Prophet ﷺ, they poisoned his food. They tried to make assassination attempts. Drove him out of his land to the end of it. In which these days and times, if half of what we was given of that, a lot of us probably would have went insane. We probably would have just lost our minds. So the righteous are always tested with what? The most righteous of people and purest of people are always given the what? Hardest of tests in order to what? For their reward to be greater in the hereafter. That's the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows these affairs to happen. And the hikmah of Allah is beyond and greater than what we mentioned. Is it clear, everyone, or not? So that's the answer to the satanic question that what people will pose, what they will try to now strike in order for you to deny the existence of Allah. If Allah allowed it to happen, if Allah exists, why would he allow that hurricane to hit that land? Why would he allow innocent bystanders to be killed? Why is it righteous people always get short-handed? They always get the short end of the stick, the short end of the stick. And why does it always seem like wretched people always get longevity and they always get all these numerous of chances? And it always seems like innocent bystanders, people who are good people, always seem like they're always getting slighted to the end of it. Brothers and sisters, I've heard these questions all the time. What's the answer? Third category. Same thing with sisters that are coming with me. I did right by my man. I did everything he wanted me to do. I helped him out. I backed him up. I held him down to the end of it. I'm never doing that again. That's because you did it for the wrong man who didn't deserve it. And you have to take that on the chin too. Because he didn't deserve it. But you did it anyway. Okay, that was a choice. So don't blame it all on the man if you still was in a relationship when it was time for you to go. And you still hanging there. That's why I said these days and times we're the opposite. We're patient with things that shouldn't be tolerated. And then we tolerate things that shouldn't be what? You shouldn't have patience upon. We switch everything. What do I mean by that? Certain affairs it does not deserve patience, and we'll hang in there a long time with things that does not deserve patience. For example, as I've heard situations, a sister said, my sister has ever seen my husband pray for about a year. I said, you patient with that? Yeah, but he paid the bills. That's the excuse. That type of patience is in its improper place. That's something that cannot be what? Tolerated at all. My husband goes out, he's been drinking and getting high for the past 5 years. I've heard a situation like that. 5 years he's been getting smoke. You didn't get him any help yet? And he's acting crazy and ballistic in the house. I don't know what to do. You think? Yeah, when he start having the withdrawal symptoms for weed, he start acting crazy. That's what they do. That's part of their behavior. Once the withdrawal from the drugs get out the system, they start acting crazy. So what you expect? You think? Being patient with things that should not be what? Tolerated. Put your foot down. Either you want to get help or I'm out. I can't take this no more. And you cause some disruption with the cultivation of my children in the house by you acting crazy. My kids don't deserve this. And the children in the household don't deserve to see that type of behavior because it gives them issues. So you shouldn't tolerate it. There's no patience here. You either get help or, because you can't act like an animal in front of my children, it's time for me to go. I'm not going to remain here in a dysfunctional household until my children grow up with a bunch of issues. These type of affairs don't need to be tolerated. Is it clear? Is it not clear, everyone? And then Shaitan switches it. Things that requires patience, we don't have patience. Not realizing that your wife works a job 5 days a week. You ain't come home, we got no food cooked. Hey, brother, she's holding you down. She works 7 days a week with 5 kids. Don't you think you need to be a little patient? Man, subhanAllah, she don't get dressed for me anymore. And her belly is getting big. Yeah, you think she working 5 days a week? And she got to raise 4 or 5 kids? Don't you think you need to have a little patience? I'm being realistic. These affairs and examples happens in our community because I am all the time. Man, my wife don't get dressed for me no more. And she's the one paying and holding you down. Holding the man down. This is the reason why people won't spread these talks from Ar-Razzaaq. Why? Because you guys know it's the truth. Speaking about real realities that's taking place with our brothers and sisters. You think that she's going to be able to work out and she holding you down? But you want this woman with this hourglass figure with a perfect body with no stomach while she's working 6 days out of a week with 5 kids. But want her to have the ideal body. But we won't have patience with that. Man, I'm ready to be out this relationship, man. I can't take this no more. Yeah, until you leave the relationship and then you realize how much she was holding you down, then you start to regret it. Because then you start to really feel it. Like, man, she was a good woman. I could have been patient. Yeah, you could have. And then you feel bad when you hear Khutbah al-Hajjah was done with her with another man. Then that's when the regret really kicks in. Ooh, that's when it hurts. Because you know that other man about to touch her now. That's when it really hurts. Is it clear, everyone? So that's what I'm saying. We need to be patient with affairs we need to be patient with. And certain affairs we don't need to, but can't tolerate certain affairs. And that goes for us, women and men. Certain affairs that can't be tolerated at all. And that's in regards to Allah and pleasing Allah. You understand? We're not doing it for any human being. We're doing it for Him subhanahu. For these affairs, like we said, is the answer to the question why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows these affairs to happen. So we can have the answer to these questions, or when these ambiguities, when they take place, you'll be able to answer them, and this will be your safeguard and your protection against the whispers of shaitan when these type of people of disbelief come with these type of ambiguities to instill doubt in you about Allah. That's the reason why we learn in these these type of fundamentals. You see the importance of it, everyone? That's the reason why you have to teach the creationists, because if they learn these affairs, they won't be acting like savages out in the street. Because the majority of the people that you see shooting at somebody and they head, you ask them, get to the nitty gritty of why they doing it. Then you say, do you believe in God? I don't believe in no God. Why God allowed me? The reason why I robbed someone is because my mother wasn't there for me when I was in the house, and she mistreated me, and she used to call me the B word and the A word and the N word and just say, you're going to be just like your father to the end of it. If it was God existed, why that had to happen to me when I was just a little kid? So that's the reason why he took his anger out on society. Because of what? Lack of aqidah and messed up in his monotheism and his belief system. That's why he took his anger out on what? On society. That's the reason why we focus on what, everyone? On the monotheism and the Tawheed of Allah. So it can rectify the people's what? Their belief and their mindset, how they think. Because once you rectify that, then everything else will be straight. They will stop acting like savages or worse on the street. And they'll start to respect and love society and want good for society. And they'll start to be a means for rectification of it, not a means for corrupting it. Is it clear, everyone, or not? Holding on, Hassan. Hold on. Are you cold? All right. Patience. You have to have patience. طيب. So that's what we said. So in regards to these three categories, that's the reason why you'll find that Ahl Ilm, especially the great Sahabi, the Khalifa Al-Rashid, the fourth Khalifa, radiyallahu anhu ardah, the great Sahabi, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he mentioned and said, إن الصبر من الإيمان بمنزلة الرأس من الجسد. Listen to this. ثم رفع صوته فقال ألا إنه لا إيمان لمن لا صبر له. Ali, the great Khalifa al-Rashid, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, he said, patience in the sabr min al-iman, that the level of patience being from faith is like the level of the head of the body. Then he raised his voice and said, verily, most definitely, there's no faith for the one who has no patience. There's no faith for the one who has no patience. That Ali ibn Abi Talib said patience, the level of patience in regards to faith, the level of patience as far as with faith, is like the level of the head from the body. Then he raised his voice and said, Ala innahu la imana liman la sabra lah. Most definitely and verily, there's no faith for the one who has no patience. How many patience do I say in the class every day with these youth? Every time they come here. How many times do I say all the time? We have to be patient with the kids. Got to be patient with the kids. Got to be patient with the kids. They're going to do things that's going to be a little irritating. That's part of being kids. You understand? Just have to be patient. Like putting your chin on the table. Have to have patience with that. So that means you take it off. There you go. Is it clear, everyone? Jade. And as a result of the patience, alhamdulillah, majority of the brothers here, the young brothers, youth here, how many brothers from the time they started up to now has seen a change in these young brothers? Except everyone says that they have seen a change. They're progressing. There's progress. Is it clear? Is it not clear? Jade. So now, you'll find that Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, that he talked about patience, and he said about sabr, as we know, sabr, as we mentioned a couple of minutes or an hour ago, that it's habs, that it's to keep yourself restrained, to show restraint and composure, to hold yourself back. Hold yourself back from what, everyone? A jaza'. Jaza' means to display some type of what? Impatience. Some type of what? Impatience. Whereas you hold back your tongue from saying something you shouldn't say, requires patience. And also complaining not complaining, we complain to Allah. An abundance of complaining. An abundance, and also tasakhut, showing your displeasure and your discontentment for Allah. Either in actions or in speech, of course, and statement. In actions, actions. Because you can show your discontentment for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pre-divine decree in your actions. Why did my mother die? So you pick up your table, you throw it, bang! What is that? What did you do? That shows that you're not being patient with the divine decree in Allah. You're displaying it where? In your actions. Is it clear? Type. So it's holding back your tongue. You're refraining it, an abundance of complaining and displayment of discontent. And also, for example, from the body parts of the limbs, and which we'll speak about in a couple of lessons that's going to come up, inshallah, by beating your face or ripping off your clothes. In which Ibn al-Qayyim had mentioned that all of that is part of what? Patience, as we know. And displayment, of course, and displaying or exhibiting what they call impatience. As we know, the ayah, which will read the ayah, read it for me, Suhail. Get him going, get his engine going. Bilal, I got you. Tafadal. Be patient with your brother. Tafadal, Suhail. Yeah, the first one, the first ayah. Mm-hmm. That's not keep. Is it? That's it. And Allah is all knowledgeable of him. You don't say that? Oh, okay. طيب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, whoever believes in Allah, Allah will guide his what? His heart. And Allah is knowledgeable of everything. Then the great tabi'i, his name was Alqama ibn Qais al-Nakha'i. He was from the great students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Oh, I forgot to mention, everyone. Sunday, when the hour goes forward, we'll have class after Maghrib. Because the hour is supposed to go forward. What? Matter of fact, it don't go forward till Sunday night, right? Is it Saturday night or Sunday night? Sunday morning to 8. So it will remain the same time because it didn't go forward yet. That's throwing me off. That's Sunday night. Okay. So they do it on a Sunday night, not a Saturday night. Sunday morning, which is technically Saturday night. Got you. All right, now I understand. All right, now I got it. But, so Sunday night, brothers, this is that Sunday night class will be after Maghrib now, because the hour is going to go forward. It's going to be an hour later, right? All right. On Sunday, class will be after Maghrib instead of after Ishaa. Okay? Just to let everyone know. I'll explain after class, inshallah. We'll stop here, inshallah. We'll stop and continue next class. We'll explain later. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل. Hang in there. You're doing good. You're memorizing. تفضل. Maqdur, we'll talk about that next class. It's the actual thing that happened. The second thing is in regards to Allah. What Allah wanted to, in regards to the action of Allah. That's what I forgot to explain, which I'll do next class. You got to realize the belief in the Qadr is ultimately connected with the Rububiyyah of Allah. Rububiyyah, the Lordship of Allah, is Allah's actions. So, the Qadr of Allah, the divine decree of Allah, is connected with Allah's actions. In regards to what Allah, by His permission, and what He wants to happen, you have to have, it's rather it's obligatory for you to be pleased with it and be patient with it. So that's the second, which is the muqaddir, the one who actually allowed it to happen. The second is the muqaddir, the one who actually allowed it to happen, who's Allah. That in that second category, it's obligatory for you to be patient. But the maqdur, the thing that happened, it depends on what it is. If it's something that's pleasing to Allah, then you're happy with it, of course. But if it's disobedience, then you will have to hate it. And you, of course, for example, you get in a car, you're driving in the street, you get in a car with somebody smoking a cigarette. And you just get in the car and you're like, oh man. So you have to be patient with that. You have to, of course, now you have to be patient, of course. Or you can get another car. But at any rate, if it happens, you're having patience to deal with it. But ultimately, in your heart, you hate it because it's disobedience of Allah. It stinks too. Is it clear? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? For example, all of us live this daily. How many times do we look on social media and we find, oh, but someone shot someone? As soon as you hear it, you what? You hate it. Another child got murdered, somebody else got shot down. SubhanAllah. You hate it. But in regards to Allah, you're what? You're content with it, you're pleased with it. Why? Because Allah is the one that made it happen for a reason. That's the reason why we break down those categories, in which I'll get into detail next class. That's going to come. You understand? Because those things, that is the key element of how you can now be able to answer these questions of what people say in regards to the divine decree of Allah, of why they say that God doesn't exist. They say, oh man, well, Allah allowed that to happen. You understand? So now you got the answer. So now you won't be blinded by the satanic whispers. These are the affairs that you'll find that a lot of people, even Muslims and certain masajid, they don't learn these matters. And as a result of it, you'll find that people is always saying, they be saying some strange statements on their tongue because they never was educated. Nobody never took time out to teach them this. That's the reason why you'll find in the masajid, those people are in those deviant masajid, they say some strange things out of their mouth. You'll be like, oh, what are y'all learning here? Black nationalism or something? What are y'all learning in here? You understand? Yeah, they're not being taught. So that's the reason why they say these, oh God, yeah, I know, we believe in Islam, but I don't agree with that. Why God got to allow certain kids to go through certain things in their lives? And you be like, whoa, man, where did that come from? It comes from not being educated properly. Nobody took time out to cultivate them properly. All someone came in and they just sized them up for their bread and laughed at them, like Shadid Muhammad. At any rate, he'll come in the masjid, size them up, teach them what they want to hear, get their money, laugh at them, keep it moving. He don't care. I'll give you your little divorce, marriage retreats, make you happy. Give me your bread. I keep it moving. I don't care. Understand? That's what he do all day. And the people actually pay for it. Any other questions about the lesson? Father Abdullah. No, there's no iman for the person that doesn't have patience. I said that. I'm sorry if I did. There's no iman for the one who doesn't have patience. I'll see you guys Sunday, inshallah. Sallallahu sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Remember, Sunday, what everyone? After Maghrib.